Hello and welcome to Right from the Kickoff with your host Joe Wright and as always, my football partner in crime, William Bayliss. How you doing, Will?
I'm very well, Joe. Some big games as always. How are you?
Yeah, mate, I'm great. Got some great results to talk about, some great football action. Again, so a few refereeing, VAR decisions as always every week, isn't it? So let's crack on with it. We're gonna start at the top of the show with the Liverpool Newcastle game. This was actually a very important game for top four and for the fight for relegation because it meant something to both teams. Um, but game finished 1-1. I mean, what did you make of this game? Well, it was very. To be honest, Liverpool should have had this game dead and buried, shouldn't they? They took the lead in 3 minutes through Mo Salah. And then, of course, Newcastle came back very contentious couple of minutes towards the end in injury time. But I'll let you talk through that. But it was a good result for other teams fighting for top four, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And it was an important game, like you were saying. You say Liverpool dominated, and they did. They had so many chances. It was unbelievable. They just were not clinical at all. But at the end of the game, Newcastle feel is justified for them to draw, even though we should have been out of sight by there. And I'll just tell you why. In the 90th minute, Newcastle thought they scored the equaliser. So Callum Wilson, who went through 1-on-1, wasn't it? The keeper
Yeah.
blocked it, it ricocheted up, his arm was down, but it hit his arm, and then he uh, scored the goal, which VAR then looked at it and they said because it was a handball, or it hit his arm before the goal, then it was uh, no goal, which you can talk about VAR all you like, but this is all about the handball rule. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, because they say, well, in the FA Cup rules, sorry, in the FA rules, it says that if it if any of your arms involved with the ball when it comes to scoring a goal, then it's disallowed. Now, this rule is actually being changed next season for it. So
Yeah.
next season, this goal would have been given, but because I haven't changed the rules yet, and we looked at it, uh, then, then it was disallowed. But Newcastle scored later on, didn't they? And it was a great finish by Willock, wasn't it? He controlled it down, after it past the keeper. But so Newcastle would have thought it was justified for them to get the 1-1. What did you make of it, Joe? Because to me, justice was done in the end.
Yeah, no, I did think justice was done, and it was the fair result in the end. Newcastle were coming in waves, and fair play to them having a goal chalked off. It was important that they got that result. But just going back to that rule, it's absolutely absurd. I'm glad it's getting changed, but whoever came up with the rule in the first place needs to give their head a bit of a wobble.
Because it
Uh,
was that point blank range, wasn't it? He had no time to react. And his
yeah,
arm was down. It's not like his arm was in an unnatural position. He literally couldn't
yeah.
do anything about it.
I think this is the thing is especially when you look at some of the pundits who are former attackers, against defenders, they say, well, if it happens in the other end of the box, goals disallowed. The advantage seems to be very much with the defender at the moment, for sure, on that front, because like you say, Callum Wilson couldn't do anything about the ball ricocheting off Allison, and obviously he did touch it with his arm. But he couldn't do anything. It almost his arm was kind of on his chest. He couldn't get it out of the way or anything. It wasn't like he purposely put his arm towards the ball or anything. But unfortunately, the ball struck his arm, and I'm glad they are changing the rule. But no, justice prevailed in this one, and I think it's a massive 2 points dropped for Liverpool. I think they're going to find it very, very difficult to get in the top four now. What do you think on that one, especially with the two results that Leicester and Chelsea both got?
Yeah, I think it's Chelsea's to lose now. We'll talk about the Chelsea game later on because there's some controversial decisions in that with West Ham losing.
Yeah,
Uh, so it's always going to be tricky, and I think other teams have some, like West Ham has some hard teams. So I personally think now is out of Liverpool and Chelsea to grab that last top 4 place. But I think it's Chelsea's to lose overall. Though, is that what you agree with?
Yeah, I do. I thought it's funny actually because we were talking about this, and obviously, as like I say, as a Leicester fan, a couple of weeks ago we were talking after the West Ham defeat. And I was really, really kind of nervous that we were going to get pulled back into it again. But with the results that West Ham have had and Liverpool have had, and Leicester winning the last 2 games in West Brom and Crystal Palace, as we'll talk about later, I think I'm very happy with the way we've responded. And of course, again, we'll talk about it later, but game coming up on Friday before everybody else plays. If Leicester win that, they're out of it. So that's kind of left us sorted now, I think. You don't want to say too much, but you think they're going to get into the top 4, not a problem. But I think, it's definitely going to be between Chelsea and Liverpool to fight out for that 4th spot, which is going to be difficult for them because let's not forget, if Arsenal win the Europa League Cup, then the 4th spot's gone anyway.
Yeah, they've just changed it rule, haven't they? Because before it was just an extra, but now they're taking it away, aren't they?
Yeah. So if Arsenal win that, and they very well could, because they seem to be quite jammy with that, I've got to be honest. There always seems to be a diabolical season for Arsenal, but they always seem to come away with the cup. But no, I mean, I still won't really worry because they've got to get past Villarreal and United, so we'll see what happens there. But no, points dropped for Chelsea, for Liverpool, and they'll be kicking themselves over that because, like you say, they're vying for that 4th spot with Chelsea for sure.
Yeah, and just going back quickly, let's talk about that. How about if Chelsea win the Champions League as well and Arsenal both win? Will that mean that Leicester are knocked out of the Champions League spot as well as the result?
No, it doesn't. I think it only applies, from what I was reading up, it only applies to the 4th spot. It doesn't. It shouldn't matter if Leicester finish 3rd. I think we'll be okay.
Yeah. Sorry, just wanted for clarification because I think a lot of people are confused by it.
Yeah.
So I think it's good that we've somewhat clarified it.
Yeah. So the third, if you finish 3rd, you're okay. I think it's only through Europa League qualification if there's going to be a problem. I mean, we are talking about a lot of permutations. Both Chelsea and Arsenal would need to win their competitions anyway. But I think if Leicester finish 3rd, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so shall we move on, Joe?
Yeah, going on to Arsenal. Obviously, this is going in chronological order now in terms of results. So Arsenal played Everton on the Friday night. I mean, what did you make of this game? Very scrappy game, very nervous game, but Everton won it 1-0.
Yeah, and it was an absolute howler from Lane, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just defensive woes at the back, whether it's the back line, whether it's the goalkeeper. It's Arsenal's season all over, with just constant defensive errors. They really need some, they need to bring some new people in because they haven't got, for Arsenal, as big a club they are, the standard of play that they've got at the moment is not good enough.
Yeah, 100%.
And I don't mean this in a horrible way. I think he's a good professional, can be a bit liable at times, but to say that David Luiz, an aging David Luiz as well, is one of your best centre backs, kind of shows you've got a problem.
Yeah, it's really saying something, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And bear in mind, this is a player that Chelsea were happy to get rid of as well.
Yeah, I think Arsenal they need a bit of an overhaul, and obviously they had the protests outside the stadium a few days ago as well to get rid of the owners. What did you make of that, Jay?
I think it was right. I think it was more protests in kind of encompassing with the Super League. They obviously want the owners out. Actually, news broke this morning that apparently Stan Kroenke and his family have kind of come out and said there's absolutely no way they're selling the club. So I don't think the fans are going to get what they want.
But if you put enough pressure on the board, then it's happened before.
I honestly don't think so, mate. I honestly don't think so. Stan Kroenke's the type of owner for me that is a he's looking at Arsenal as a cash cow and nothing more. He doesn't really care about the results.
Yeah.
He just wants Arsenal for the money. And regardless of whether the Super League's been put to bed for now, he knows that something like this in the future, whether it's going to be a kind of a different format and stuff, is going to be in the pipeline. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to say to fans out there, as much as we got rid of the Demon last week, I feel like these guys aren't going away. They are billionaires.
Like we said before, the new Champions League format needs to be looked at as well, because it's basically the same thing if you think about it, and fans should be just as outraged by this with UEFA. But it's like the lesser of two evils, isn't it?
Yeah, not only that though, mate. I think it's the fact that you've got to take into consideration the players. They want the players to play more and stuff. And I understand they're earning millions and millions of pounds. Don't get me wrong, but you got to take into consideration the rest times everything. I think the new Champions League group stage that they're proposing is 10 teams. So that'd be 18 matches for one competition. Bear in mind all the domestic stuff. So again, the smaller clubs in that competition just aren't going to be able to cope with the demand on their league and domestic cups and the Champions League. So it really does need looking at. But going back to the game, Arsenal v Everton. Everton, got the win. They needed it. I still don't think they're going to make any waves in terms of Champions League.
Do you know what's ironic though? Is if they win the game, they'll be ahead of Liverpool, because they've got a game in hand on Tottenham, Liverpool, Everton do. So
yeah, I mean, they could
not over.
They could. It's not over, but I'm just saying it with the way they're playing, and this is why, quite honestly, I think. Like I was saying to you earlier, with the top four, I think Leicester are safe because the teams below them aren't always. They won't win the rest of the games with the form they're currently on. So they're going to drop points anyway, and I think that's the thing. I think Everton will drop points from now until the end of the season, when really they need to win the rest of the games to give themselves a chance.
Yeah, they really do.
So that's why. The only reason I'm saying that Everton probably won't do it is because of how many points they are behind. Even with the game in hand, they win. They're still there would still be 4 points behind Chelsea, I believe, or 3. So it's a tough ask.
Yeah, it really is. To be fair, you're not wrong. And West Ham still have 55 points, so they're only 3 points behind. It's very, very tight. There's West Ham on 55, Liverpool on 54, Tottenham on 53. Everton on 52 with a game in hand, so it'd be very interesting. One thing about Everton is that they only have a +4 goal difference, so that's not going to work in their favour, is it?
No, it's not. Right, let's move on to the next game. Hang on a second, just let me.
West Ham Chelsea.
West Ham Chelsea. Now, this game, Chelsea won it 1-0. There was a lot of controversy, which I'll let you talk about in a minute, Will. But, I mean, 1-0, good result in terms of what it means for the league. These two teams were kind of vying out for that 4th spot, and just forget the contentious decisions for a second. I'll let you talk about it in a second. But what do you think this means for West Ham? They were coming off such a high after the win against Leicester at home. Obviously lost against Newcastle 3-2. Now lost against Chelsea. Do you start to worry for them a bit now they've got 2 defeats consecutively?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really, really tough for them. And if you have a look at their upcoming fixtures, they're playing against Burnley next, which is a tough game, Everton, which is huge, then Brighton, then West Brom, then Southampton. So they've got some winnable games, but it's not going to be easy for them, is it?
No, it's not. It's not, and I do feel for them a bit, because in my opinion, David Moyes has to go down as one of the managers of the season, regardless of whether they get a Champions League or not. But I honestly would love to see West Ham get into that 4th spot, if I'm going to be completely honest.
Yeah, and just looking at the upcoming fixtures for Chelsea, they've got Fulham, Man City, Arsenal. Then they've got the FA Cup final against Leicester. Oh, and then they're playing Leicester, which they would have done anyway on the same day, remarkably. But that needs to be rearranged. And final and last game of season, they've got Aston Villa. So they've got a really, really tough end of the season. So actually, I think it might be in West Ham's court,
It might be, but I think the way Tuchel's come in and made the differences. I still fancy Chelsea with the results they've managed to put together. You know, and also they've got the psychological impact of the semi-final against Man City as well, who could quite easily have won the title by then. You know, so there's a lot of permutations, isn't there? But anyway, back to the football. What did you make of the contentious decisions that obviously we were mentioning earlier?
Yeah, well, it was 1-0 Chelsea, which you say that's fair enough because Chelsea did deserve to win the game, didn't they?
Yeah.
But we'll start with the sending off. Now, this actually got rescinded yesterday. So he basically cleared the ball, and on his follow through, his studs were up, and he caught the knee of the Chelsea player. Who was it? Was it Chilwell?
It was Chilwell, yeah. Yeah, it was Chilwell.
My only problem with this, and what we say it time and time again, is they slow it down, and everything looks worse when it's slowed down. What you're supposed to do when you clear the ball, he didn't actually do that. He went for the clearance and then caught him. It's a controversial one for me.
No, I mean it's not even controversial. Well, it is controversial, but it's nowhere near a sending off. Like a lot of the professionals are saying, and I completely agree. He was kicking the ball. Like if you can't kick a ball now in football and you have to watch for your follow through, we're in trouble, aren't we? Because this kind of stuff's going to happen. He was literally like, where do you put your foot after you've cleared the ball? You're going to have some momentum taking through. So obviously it's going to, and the studs are going to be up and stuff. And of course, Chilwell's going to try and close him down well within his rights, but there's no way that was even a yellow for me. Like that wasn't, you know, that was just momentum. Didn't mean it. He caught him, yes, but he after kicking the ball, you know.
And again, it looks worse because they slowed it down. They didn't look at the full incident. They just looked at on the follow through, which is just like when he kicked the ball, his studs were down, and then he went up because his momentum took him up. Didn't he? He didn't intentionally go for it. What are you supposed to do?
For me though, right? You've got to right. Not only look at the player's boot, you've got to look at the player's eyes. You've got to look at the player's eyes. Where is he looking? And he's looking firmly up ahead of himself with the ball. He's not looking at Chilwell at all. He's cleared the ball. He's not. There's no malicious intent there. You know, it was an accident. You don't get sent off for accidents. I'm sorry, you don't. If there's no malicious intent, then no, it's not sending off. Even if it had ended up breaking Chilwell's ankle, it'd have been very unfortunate. But the player's not meant to break his ankle. Do you know what I mean? He's not meaning to do that. So it's not sending off. You can't. Accidents happen all the time in sport and in life, and you can't blame somebody for an accident. You just can't. So it's not sending off. It's not a yellow card, and it was ridiculous.
Do you think it was even a foul?
No, I don't think so. I really don't. Yeah, he caught it. It was the momentum of the ball. That's the thing. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. You could maybe push me to say it was a foul, or maybe talk to me about that. But that's it. You know, that's it. There's no malicious intent in it at all. So it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. But did you think 1-0 was a fair scoreline?
I did. I thought Chelsea obviously dominated the game. I thought, for whatever reason, West Ham throughout it did look a bit sluggish. You know, they weren't up for it as much. Obviously, Werner got a goal, which I'm sure a lot of the Chelsea fans were happy about because we know that he's had a bit of a difficult season in terms of goal scoring and stuff. So, no, good goal and good win, and they needed that as well, especially to sort of par the pressure with them playing West Ham, and obviously, like we said earlier, Liverpool dropping points. So, no, good result for Chelsea, and we move on.
Moving on to Sheffield United Brighton. Now, this was a controversial one, wasn't it, Joe?
You say controversial. I mean, how many times again have we sat here? Brighton are a great footballing side, you know, but they don't take the chances. And this game was nothing. There was nothing different about this. I mean, Brighton should have probably won this game 3-4-1. But they didn't take the chances. I mean, how sick are you going to be hearing that as a Brighton fan?
It's just time and time again, isn't it?
If you've not watched the game and you're watching the podcast, you're going, oh, I wonder what analysis the boys are going to do on the Brighton game. You might as well just copy and paste what we've said from previous weeks about Brighton not taking their chances, because this was it. Sheffield United get their one chance. Of course, McGoldrick, we were talking about it with Guess Will last week, top scorer, gets a goal. Nice little bit of momentum for Sheffield United getting a result. Takes them to 70 points, which we all said in our predictions, by the way, last week, that they were going to get nowhere near. So the fact that they got a result, I'm sure Sheffield United fans will be happy with that. It was a bit of a dead game, to be honest. I'd be a bit annoyed if I was a Brighton fan, for sure.
Yeah, I would be, but I think they're pretty much safe now. But it's just they'd want to bolster their attacking options in the summer window. They just need to take their chances. Yeah, it's just if you're a Brighton fan, you'd be like, you just don't learn the lesson. They need to stay longer in training, don't they? They're working on their finishing, but when it comes to a game scenario, they just can't finish for dinner. It's so frustrating to watch because they play some really, really good football, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I wouldn't even put it down to the manager's fault, really. It's the style of football he plays is actually quite expansive and quite good to watch. Obviously, that we've just said, but if you've got strikers that can't finish their dinner, your job as a manager is to get the strikers the opportunity. And get them to. I mean, obviously, I don't know what they're doing in training, but they definitely need to work on the finishing, like you just said. But I think the way he plays expansive football, he's got to be scratching his head, hasn't he?
Yeah, 100%. I saw a joke online, and before the game, he went to the press box with a little black eye under his eye, and and he said he hit the post, so he can't even score in real life, can he? So always hitting a post, his expected goals are still racking high and no goals scored, is there?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
it's just a similar story.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of that expected goal stat. I think it's rubbish. But no, I mean, yeah, it's a good job he can have a laugh at himself. But yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, Sheffield United get the result. The game, I think, is not going to really amount to much in terms of the league and stuff, because they're now on 34 points. I think Fulham are on 27, and I just can't see Fulham getting 7 more points, to be honest, at this point.
No way. And they're playing Chelsea next as well, aren't they? So
yeah, they are.
No, I don't think it's going to be easy.
Right, moving on. To this is now Sunday's games. We all had draws for this one, and we were like, oh, it's going to be a nothing game. But what a masterclass by Chris Wood. I mean, scored a hat-trick, got an assist. Burnley went 4-0 in this one. What did you make of it? Well, and it was a really good game to be a Burnley fan, wasn't it? It was a great
yeah. Game. And if you're a Burnley fan, you'll be thinking, why isn't Chris Wood starting every week? Because he's shown time and time again that he can bang in the goals. I know he's getting on a bit now, but I think it was just an unbelievable performance by him. Some of his finishings were just unbelievable, and 4-0 in the end. No one predicted that. It's just unbelievable.
I think the thing is with Chris Wood is he plays how Burnley want to play. They play to his strengths, get the balls in the box, the little knockdowns, and that's kind of how he scored. Let's make no bones about it, though. His first goal was a brilliant finish, wasn't it? Took it round the defender, nice and easy. Turned Connor Cody inside out after a Will Bolly mistake with the header. And I think, he does have skill about him as well. He's a very, very competent centre forward, and he's a powerful centre forward as well. And he really showed it in this game. And yeah, brilliant performance. 4-0. Just going on to Wolves just quickly. I'd be worried if I was a Wolves fan in terms of next season. Obviously they've got to wait for Jimenez to come back. But what I would say is, I can't believe how much they've capitulated without the main striker. I know they're missing their striker, but it's getting beyond the joke now, isn't it? With the excuse of that, I know they've been missing their striker, and he's a pivotal point. But just have a bit more desire. If you can't score, don't concede. And at the moment, they just kind of fall into bits a little bit. What do you make of it?
I know there's talk with Nuno potentially going to Tottenham, so I don't know if that's playing on the minds as well. But this was happening well before this. I think they're just void of very real confidence and quality. I think they've just run out of steam, haven't they? Because last season they did unbelievably well, but this season they just haven't looked the same team, have they?
No, they haven't, and like I say, they are missing their main man in Jimenez. Obviously, he scores. I think they would be slightly higher up the table if he was still
But
on the team.
it can't all be down to one player.
No,
To do
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You know, it's not just one player. They've got talent in their side, and I think Traore now is kind of showing why the bigger clubs don't go for him. You know, he's got pace, he's got power. We know that, but when it comes to his end products and what he can do with the ball, when he's the man to put it in the back of the net, he can't. He just doesn't have that end product, does he? And that's exactly.
He's always had that. When he was at Middlesbrough, I remember watching him when he was played against Forest, and he beat like 5 men, and his cross was just like go straight out for a goal kick. It was just really, really poor. So, but it's definitely something he needs to work on.
Yeah, but you know we have players like that all the time. Right, moving on to the next game, which is
Leeds Man U.
Leeds Man U. Now we had this to be a rip-roaring game. You know, the previous game in the season was 6-2 to Man U, so you thought, oh, it's going to be high goals. I think you went for a 4-4, didn't you? I think Guesswell went for a 3-2. I went for a 4-2. So it was a high-scoring affair. We were like, getting all excited. Honestly, this was one of the games that I was excited to watch this weekend. This was, right? But I'm going to just tell you the score now, and I don't really need to do any analysis on the game because it was 0-0, and my God, it was poor, wasn't it? It was shocking.
Yeah, but if you're a Leeds fan, you were like, job done, great result, 0-0 against Man United. You'll take for every day of the week. Hey, Phillips nullified Bruno Fernandes, who's had quite a few run of poor games, mainly because Man U haven't had any penalties lately. That's probably why.
Yeah, that's true.
If you have a look at the games, I know he's got some quality, and obviously he's a really, really good player. But if he had taken away all his penalties, he would nowhere near be put up on a pedestal as highly, would he? I think.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a tough one, isn't it?
I was singing his praises. I remember when we did the first podcast back, and I think the first player I gave Player of the Week to and possible Player of the Season was Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah.
But quite honestly, like you just said, he's not been firing. You know, he's not been scoring, and he's not even been assist making. He's made a couple of good passes to lead up to goals because you'd expect that. You know, he's their passer, and he is a good player and can find a pass. But he just seems to have dropped off the pace, and I think that has something to do with United's form kind of dropping off slightly. You know, obviously Greenwood's come back a little bit. I'm not really impressed with him recently, and I think that might just edge him out of the Player of the Season conversation when it comes to kind of all the bigwigs making the decision. But yeah, 0-0, not much happened, and like you say, Leeds would take this result all day. They didn't have the greatest game, and honestly, for me, man of the match was Calvin Phillips, was marking Bruno Fernandes, not letting him out of sight. Really had him in his pocket all day, to be honest, didn't he?
Yeah, and Leeds just sat 10 players behind the ball. They just didn't let Man U have any space, and it shows a progression of Leeds, because at the start of the season they would have gone for it and gone gung ho, and they probably would have lost 4-0 if we're being realistic.
Yeah.
But now it shows a progression that they're learning the league a bit more. They're getting more experience and they're being more savvy. I know that might be a bit more boring, but that's how you get results. I know we all want to see entertaining football, but it's a very risky game to do that, isn't it?
No, it is, and they've got to play that type of way if you want to get results and you want to be pushing for the higher spots. You know, you take a 0-0 with Man U, you would, because you would think, all right, point gained. Do you know what I mean? And move on to the next one where you can be a bit more expansive. But no, it's a good result for Leeds, and it was a dire game to watch. Let's make no bones. But good result for Leeds. Right, moving on to Aston Villa, West Brom, and this was just heartbreak for West Brom.
Oh my god. But really, really poor keeping and defending, if I'm being real.
Yeah, it was. Just giving you an update on how West Brom are doing. So obviously they got 2 good results against, the previous 2 games leading into the Leicester game. They then lost against Leicester 3-0. Very poor performance from them. Just no closing down, no desire. It's almost like they were just like, right, let's keep it to 3-0 and just get out of here. They're almost accepting a loss from the first whistle. Ridiculous. And of course, so it put more pressure on this game. 2-2, leading 2-1. Pereira had a stonker of a game again, scored a penalty. Basically, I think got the assist for the second goal, set up. And
what a player.
What a player. I mean, they're going to find it hard to keep hold of him, aren't they, in the summer?
I think he's especially if they get relegated, they're definitely going to lose him. Let's be real.
Well, I mean, they will do now, in my opinion, and we'll kind of go on to that in a second, because, I mean, the way the game developed, you thought, right, you need to hold on to this 2-1 up, kind of time ticking out, and then just shambolic defending. Just honestly, I'm almost head in hands. I'm not a West Brom fan, but I just felt for him, man. It was just. If you're a West Brom fan, I just apologise. I'm apologising for you, because that must have hurt. 2-2. Keenan Davis nicks in after some. Just get rid of the ball. I think Ajayi.
If in doubt, in that stage of the game, the keeper should have came out for it, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean,
but the defender should have taken it into his own hands. Well, not literally, but he should have cleared it away, like you were saying. It's just painful.
Well, it's both, wasn't it? It was both. You said that the goalkeeper was shambolic. Ajayi should have got rid of the ball. And let's not forget, Johnston's had a great season, but I think it was just late in the game, and that's it for them. I think personally, 25 points now. All games in hand played, so they're on 33 now. I can't see them getting out of it. What do you make of it? They need to win the rest of the games now, don't they?
But I can't say it's happening. I think the bottom 3 is how it's going to stand, if I'm being real.
Yeah, I agree. It was heartbreak. Also on the leave. Good result for Villa. They've had actually a really good season, to be honest, haven't they? Considering where they were last season and stuff. They have had. Let's not make any mistake. This has been a good season. Mid-table finish. No kind of pressure going into the last 5 games. It's good if you're a Villa fan. It's progression, isn't it?
Yeah, and they want to push on for next year, weren't they? But they've got some good players. Obviously, Grealish will be coming back, and you would fancy them for next season, won't they?
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, 2 clubs in the same part of the world in very different positions at the moment. Aston Villa have secured another year of Premier League football, whereas West Brom very much doubt if we'll see them in the Premier League next season. Moving on to the final game of the week. Now, this one obviously is a very one close to my heart. 2-1 Crystal Palace, Leicester. Did you watch the game, Will?
I did, and so Palace took the lead in the game, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Very poor first half from Leicester, actually. Palace were much the better team in the first half, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. But that man again, Iheanacho, he's a goal machine now. You must be more confident. I know we spoke about the early days when he started picking up form, but now you have to fancy him for being that striker you need when Vardy goes, isn't he? And he's already passing on the pattern, isn't he, really?
Yeah, again, we've had this conversation before, and I'll still stick to my guns. Obviously, I watch Leicester week in, week out. Iheanacho is just a revelation. He's really kind of kept us in that top 4 fight, and made it a lot easier for us to breathe a little easier for sure. I mean, that's the difference in this season to last, is the fact that we've got Iheanacho firing when Vardy wasn't. Do you know, when Vardy isn't? Whereas last season when Vardy went off the boil, the whole team tend to.
Yeah.
So the fact that we've got Iheanacho now is really why we're still up there and looks like we're going to secure a top 4 spot. But I will say this about Iheanacho is, again, he plays better in a 2. He's not a single man striker. I know you find that hard to believe, but he just plays so much better with Vardy with him. Do you know what I mean? So we need somebody to replace Vardy to accompany this fire that is Iheanacho. I mean, don't get me wrong. The goal he took on Monday was just he was a man in form, wasn't he? And he just took it back, set up the first goal as well for Castagna. I mean, he's just a different player. I mean, honestly, you keep telling me what do you think about his form. Nobody saw this coming. Inside the club, nobody saw it. I'll be honest, I was calling for his head. I was saying get rid of him. He's had enough chances and stuff, but you've pointed out to me before, and you've made this point time and time again, and I was always like, well, I'm not sure. Well, I was wrong on this one. And you said to me, you need a good run of games. You've always said that to me.
It's all about a confidence game. You don't just lose it. Like he's in a Leicester squad for a reason, because they trust in his ability.
Yeah, and I think to be honest, I'm more than happy to put my hand up on this one, especially because it's working out for us. To put my hand up and say, I was wrong on this one. I was not a fan of Iheanacho halfway through the season, and he's just come good. I've seen a couple of funny posts on social media and stuff. People saying it's almost as if Iheanacho woke up a couple of weeks ago and thought, you know what, I'm going to become the best football player in the world. And you know what, he was right. But no, I think it's great to see him with confidence. But I think Man City will be kicking themselves now if he continues this form that they've let him go.
We'll
see
if they buy Haaland, they'll be fine. They'll be laughing, won't they?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, they've got the money to buy him back. Let's not be honest if they wanted to. But no, good result for Leicester, and I think Crystal Palace are just waiting for the end of the season now. Obviously, see what happens with Roy Hodgson.
100%. And just a quick one on Leicester. Your manager came out, Brendan Rodgers, to say that he's not interested in the Tottenham position. So do you feel a lot easier on that? I know you didn't think it was going to go anyway, but I always calm about that.
I always did. I think it's honestly now. I think it's been confirmed. If we win on Friday, obviously that if we get Champions League, he's not gonna. And Spurs won't. Let's be honest. Spurs. If Leicester get it, Spurs won't. They're not in that for top 4 really now, are they? I can't see them winning the rest of the games, all the games. So I think. Why would Brendan Rodgers want to throw away Champions League, and especially when, like I say, he's got unfinished business at Leicester? Why would he want to go from a team that's got Champions League to a
exactly, yeah.
And that's unfortunately that's what Tottenham don't have at the moment. You can have all the money in the world, but Brendan Rodgers will want to finish the story with Leicester, even if it's just for one more season. See what happens with the Champions League.
So
I don't see Brendan Rodgers staying at Leicester forever. He's a great manager. I don't think Leicester have got all the resources in the world to keep hold of a manager like that, unfortunately. But I think we'll keep him for another season or 2 at least.
Where do you see Leicester going from here then? How do you see them progressing from this 3rd spot? It's going to be really tough to compete with the likes of Man City and Man U, isn't it?
It's difficult because that's the next progression for us now, isn't it? We finished in the top 6 for the last 2 seasons, potentially. I don't want to count my chickens, but it's looking like that way. And if we do finish in the top 4, that's a 5th place finish and possibly a 3rd place finish this season, or a 4th place finish. And that's, for a club like Leicester, that's fantastic. But you've got to try and compete on a regular basis, and whether we can or not is another question. There's no doubting, though, if we do get Champions League, the players that we will attract this summer are going to be of a high calibre as well. So there is that to bolster, but it'd be just interesting. It's very interesting being a Leicester fan because you're almost waiting for the story to kind of fall apart. Do you understand me when I say that? It's
Well, yeah, I know what you mean.
you kind of like, well, I never imagined we could win the Premier League. I never imagined we could be competing for Champions League every season. So now that it's kind of happening, you're like, right, okay, so when's the next bad thing going to happen?
Yeah, you just kind
Do
of
you know what I
waiting
mean?
for the downfall, aren't
Do you
you?
know?
I know what
Do
you
you know
mean.
what I mean? And I think obviously, like I said, yeah, I've been a Leicester fan since I was 6, so it's never been this rosy. So
Do you know
I've been
do you
through
know
the
why
pain.
I have a problem with this mentality? It's because teams like Tottenham and Arsenal, who don't really compete for the top four that often anymore, they're getting too big for the boots. When they're Leicester, who's shown they're a better team consistently over the last few seasons, and you're feeling like that, I think it's really, really unfair because you don't feel like you deserve to be there because the likes of them was like, oh no, but we're historically amazing, so we should be here at all times. So therefore, you
I
don't
think,
deserve to be here.
yeah,
Hence the Super League.
I think it's difficult because I'm an optimist. I will always be an optimist when it comes to Leicester. And obviously, I want Leicester to win every game they play. But I think where it comes down to me, you've got to remember, Will. Obviously, you being a Forest fan as well, being down in the Championship and stuff. You know you've got to be a realist. And I think
Yeah.
that's the difference. I'm not being a pessimist. I'm being a realist. I'm not saying that we're going to fall down the leagues or anything like that. I'm just saying that being a Leicester fan and being a fan of one of these clubs and the fact that we've gotten to, we've gotten ourselves into this fantastic position is just never boast about it so much because things can happen. I mean, look at Arsenal, for example. Do you know what I mean? Never be too happy with what you've achieved. Look at what you could achieve. And I think that's the thing. It's where can we push on from here? And hopefully, I'm hoping we can sustain the top 6 push, but it's going to be difficult because the so-called Super League clubs, they're going to want to bolster their squads too.
Yeah.
So
Do you see what I mean as well? Like they're making Leicester seem like a little guy when actually Leicester are quite rightly holding their own and even more so than better than the so-called top 6, aren't they?
yeah, no, 100%. I think if you look at the teams on paper, I think there's 2 teams before the season that I was looking at and going, well, they're better than us in terms of on paper, and the rest of the league. And those 2 teams aren't even the top 2 at the moment. So obviously, being Man City being one of them, obviously, and Liverpool, who were champions coming into this season. So those are the 2 teams that I fear. And then the rest of them, I really don't fear. I don't fear Man United. I don't fear Chelsea. Yes, they're good teams and they can beat you. But likewise, Leicester, with the players they've got, can beat them.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
And it's 11 against 11 at the end of the day. That's why we love football because anyone can beat anyone, can't they?
Yeah, definitely. Right. That's the prediction. Well, that's the scores roundup from last weekend. We're now going to go on to our players of the week. Obviously, I'll let you go first, Will. Who are you saying? Give
Uh,
me 2 players and why you selected them for your top 2, and then obviously give me your top 1.
well, I've just gone 1 for now, so I think we should do 1 each if that's all right. So
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm taking. There's no one else I'm going to pick other than Chris Wood, and it's just showing that age is just a number, isn't it? I think he's just been unbelievable in that game. He's just quite rightly deserves to be up there.
Well, you can't pick anyone else, can you? This week, I mean, absolutely fantastic performance, and so yeah, he's my player of the week as well. It's easy for us this week. He absolutely dominated, 3 goals, one assist, and brilliant player. I was going to give a special mention again to Iheanacho with a goal
Yeah,
and an assist. But again, I think it's just the reason I wanted to point that out is just because of the upturn in form that he's had. That every
yeah,
week
exactly.
now he seems to be a name on our list. So no, but
Yeah.
Chris Wood, just going on to Chris Wood, absolutely fantastic performance, and like you say, brilliant overall performance. And age is just a number, and hopefully he can keep going. First Premier League hat trick scored, by the way. So
Wow, fair play. Just before we get on to the predictions as well, we haven't spoken about the League Cup final, have we, Joe?
no, we haven't.
1-0 to Man City. Man City should have been out of sight in the first half, but they just couldn't finish, could they? But Tottenham, they started off poorly. I thought it was going to be a cricket score in the end. Reguilon for Tottenham had a really dire game. I saw one where he could have kicked it out and he just let it go out of play for a Man City throw. I'm like, what is he doing?
I saw that. Yeah, I mean that was just poor.
But this is just showing that Man City just. I know Jamie Carragher said that Man City are lacking courage, which I see because they did try to go for a little amount, but we didn't have a worst game in the world. But we're just lacking that confidence. I think that's what it sounds. I say it time and time again.
You mean Tottenham, by the way? Do you mean
Sorry, Tottenham. Yes, sorry.
Man City.
What did you think of it, Joe?
Yeah, I think overall it's kind of how we expected the game to go. You know, Man City keeping hold of the ball, high press when they don't have it. You know, all this sort of stuff. 1-0 flattered Tottenham in the end. I think it could have been 2 or 3, maybe 4. With the attacking, especially in the first 15 minutes. I mean, we were kind of messaging each other and we were saying this isn't going to end well for Tottenham. And I mean,
no.
It didn't in the end because they lost, but it was far better than it could have been. All I'm going to say on Tottenham is 2 things. We've talked about it previously, and I'm sure that guest Will from last week is going to appreciate me saying this. Not, but I think it's proven that Ryan Mason's not going to be the man for the job at the end of the season for sure. You know, even against Southampton last week wasn't the best performance, you know, and then of course the cup game lost that, so he's definitely just there for morale, and they won't get Champions League now. I'm pretty certain of that. So it's just going to be interesting. And then another thing, we keep harping on about it, but Harry Kane has to go. Surely will.
Yeah, I think the Son has to go as well if they want to be serious about getting trophies. I know guess what I was saying last week that he want to get the record. I'm like, no, he's getting on a bit. He wants to win trophies, and he has to force progression. He wants to prove to people that no, it's not just a one-team wonder. He needs to leave to win anything.
Yeah, to win anything. And also, I obviously didn't want to kind of harp on about it last week towards guest Will, but I think I just sense it in his demeanour. I do honestly, I do sense it in his demeanour in terms of he's kind of sick of everything that's going on. He just another manager's left now. He's going to have to be the main man again for the same kind of manager and stuff. And I think he's done. I think anybody in the world's going to want him. You know, if he became available to someone like Bayern Munich, Man City, you know, Barcelona, the clubs that could afford him, Real Madrid,
they'll snap his hand up, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they would, and that's the thing. It's not like there aren't as much as Spurs are like, well, we'd want 200 million for him. You know, I bet you any money there's a club out there that would pay that.
Yeah, 100%.
So
we'll see what happens, won't we, Joe?
If he wants to go, if Harry Kane wants to go, he'll leave.
Yeah,
100%. It's down to Harry Kane at the end of the day.
Okay, so let's move on to a prediction, shall we, Joe?
Yeah, let's do it. So you just go one each. So do you want to start?
Yeah, so Southampton, Leicester, first game of the weekend. This is actually on Friday night, isn't it? I've gone 2-0 Leicester. I think they're just gonna romp home, aren't they? 2-0 Leicester.
Yeah, I think I've gone 2-1 Leicester.
You have done, yeah.
Yeah, I think Leicester are just going to be slightly too strong, but Southampton could pull off an upset here because obviously they still want some revenge for the FA Cup semi-final, and of course, unfortunately for Southampton fans, it will be mentioned a lot this week, the 9-0 last season at St Mary's. Which I'm sure
it's going to haunt them, isn't it?
Yeah, which I'm sure Southampton fans will love me for mentioning that, but it always gets mentioned every time these two play each other now. So yeah, I think they'll play a lot better. It'll be a different game to the one that we saw in the FA Cup, I'm sure.
Yeah. So let's move on to Crystal Palace, Man City. I can't see this being any other than a 3-0 Man City win. I think just gonna destroy them. I don't know, you've gone something very similar. You've gone 4-0, haven't you, Joe?
Yeah, I've gone 4-0, and again, I can't see anything. I mean, don't get me wrong, they played well against Leicester on Monday night, but they still lost.
Yeah.
So and I think a lot of Palace fans, I was looking through kind of the social media and stuff, they were all saying that, even when we play well, we can't win. And that's the problem. They were arguably the better team on Monday night and still lost.
Yeah.
So Palace, like we've said, they're in a transition period, aren't they? I think Roy Hodgson's going to go at the end of the season. Contract's out. They've not renewed his contract. They'll be looking for somebody else in the summer, I'm sure of it. Be interesting to see who they go for, but I think it's definitely a new dawn on the horizon for Crystal Palace, because I think Roy Hodgson's, it's going to be his last season this season.
You think so?
Got lots coming out of the club, yeah, for sure.
That's fair. So moving on to Brighton Leeds, and we know that Brighton can't finish a dinner, can they? And Leeds are looking at, obviously, about miles above at the moment. So I've gone 2-0 Leeds. What do you think of that, Jay?
Yeah, I think that's a fair result. I've gone, just to be slightly different, I think I've gone 2-1 to Leeds,
yes.
But we've both gone for Leeds wins. I can't see anything else other than a Leeds win, to be honest, just because Leeds are the better side. So you'd think on form as well that Leeds would get the 3 points, but you never know. Brighton can turn up and they can play some nice stuff, but they just need to know how to put it in the back of the blooming net.
Yeah, the story of the season there, where we say time and time again.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to Chelsea Fulham. I've gone 2-1 Chelsea. I think can't say anything else because Chelsea are just miles above Fulham. There, they were doing well earlier on in the season, but now they've just slipped. I think they're doomed now, don't you think?
Yeah, I do. I do. I can't see Fulham getting anything out of this game. The form's gone. I like Scott Parker. I do. I think he is a good manager, and I think he's still learning his trade, because I think Scott, it's his first. I know he had his season in the Championship with them, and he got them up through the playoffs. But I think it's his first managerial role, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think he will be back. He's shown what he's all about, and I think he is a good manager. I like the way he speaks, and he's kept them confident throughout the season. But yeah, I just don't think they've got enough quality in the squad, unfortunately.
Yeah, so what are you going for?
I'm going 2-0. 2-0 to Fulham. 2-0 to Fulham. 2-0 to Chelsea.
Yeah, I was going to say.
2-0 to Chelsea.
And on the next game, Everton Villa. I know we both agree. We've both gone 1-1 on this game, and I think 1-1. I can see it being a draw. Yeah,
I can as well. I don't think Everton have got enough. I think they'll drop points from now until the end of the season. Like we said, they've still got a chance to get into top four. But yeah, 1-1's the right result for me. I think Villa have got enough to get a goal or two and at least make it a draw. So
yeah,
1-1 for me is the right prediction.
Yeah, 100%. And moving on to Newcastle Arsenal. Now this is going to be an interesting game because Newcastle I've actually picked up a lot of form, and I think they'll take the game to Arsenal. Arsenal aren't in the best of form as always throughout the whole season, so I see it being 1-1 in the end. I can see it being a draw.
I think it's going to be 2-1 to Newcastle. I think they've shown more, especially with St. Maximin being back, like we said last week. I think they showed enough against Liverpool. They've got more fire in the belly. And to be honest, Arsenal, apart from the Europa League, they haven't got anything to play for in the league. So for them, I think it's a bit of a dud. I think this could be, I'm definitely sticking to my guns and going for a Newcastle win.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'm moving on to the biggest game of the weekend, arguably. Man U Liverpool. Now this game is always hyped up, and it's always most times is a really boring game. So that's why I've got 0-0. What do you think, Joe?
I've gone for a 2. You actually said this result after I said mine, didn't you? But I did kind of agree with what you were saying. They do hype this game up, and it tends to be just a kind of a boring 0-0 fest. But I've gone for a 2-1. United. I think Liverpool, it's going to be weird because Man U like to play counter-attacking football. We know that Liverpool play their kind of fluid passing and stuff, which they've been quite off this season. And they actually are struggling to score themselves of late with the amount of chances they've had. I think they've had something like 150 something shots, so far in 2021 and only scored 4 goals from open play, 4 or 5 goals from open play, which isn't good enough, is it?
No, not at all.
So it'll be interesting, but yeah, 2-1 United I've gone for.
Yeah. Moving on to Tottenham, Sheffield United. I've gone 3-1 Tottenham. I know Sheffield United won last week, but I think Tottenham will have more firepower. With the likes of Kane and Son, I can see them winning this 3-1.
I've gone for pretty something similar. I've gone for 3-0. I can't see Sheffield United scoring. Just, they won last weekend, but let's be honest, that was lucky. Obviously they're relegated now, so yeah, 3-0 Spurs I've gone for.
Yeah, that's fair. Moving on to the penultimate game, West Brom Wolves. Another West Midlands derby. I've actually gone 1-0 West Brom because I know West Brom are doomed, but they're going down fighting, if we're being honest. And Wolves, as we saw last weekend, they've just lost all confidence. So I've gone 1-0 West Brom in the end.
I've gone very similar scoreline again. I've gone 2-1 West Brom.
Yeah.
I think West Brom will win this game. I think they're doomed regardless. The last couple of games have kind of put a nail in the coffin. But like you said, they are going down fighting. So yeah, 2-1 West Brom, and Wolves at the moment are drops. So yeah.
Yeah. And finally, Burnley West Ham. Now, I know Burnley will be in high in confidence, but I think West Ham will want to prove something. They want to try and make the points. I'm going to go 3-1 West Ham for this game.
I've gone for something different, just in mind of the last 2 results that West Ham have kind of had. Plus, we know they can concede goals as well. They score a lot of goals, but they concede a lot of goals. So I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. So I think it's going to be more points dropped. Burnley pretty much safe, but yeah, 2-2 draw. And West Ham will not be in the Champions League next season, I don't think.
You don't think, right? You're calling it now, right? Well,
yeah.
Thanks very much for today, Joe. Of course, if you have anything else, any of the viewers have anything they want to comment on their predictions, what they thought of the podcast, any of the talking points, if you agreed or disagreed, please let us know in the comments below, and please give us a like on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and make sure you click that subscribe button on YouTube.
Yeah,
Joe. Anything to add, Joe?
No, nothing else to add, mate. And see you again this time next week.
See you again with that main man, Peter Crouch, as always.
Peter Crouch, yes. Can't wait to have him on.
Awesome. Right, I'll see you later, Joe.
See you later, mate.